Welcome to the virtual career fair hosted by the Sustainable Community Aid Network, featuring an interview with social worker Natasha Madassa.
So, would you like to first introduce yourself and like what you do for a living?
Yeah, so my name is Natasha Madassa. I'm one of the community wellness coordinators at Native Child and Family Services. So essentially, my role is to support with group counseling. So specifically, one of the groups that I hold, it's called the Aftercare program right now. It's for folks who are in our Medagan Lodge, which is like our substance use support lodge. So anyone who has substance use issues, they live in the lodge, and then they take part of my program. So it's kind of to help support talking about like relapse prevention, different goals that they have for themselves, and just to kind of help support them, guide them on their way back into the community outside of the lodge. And then another group that I hold is called Peaceful Warrior. So that's a support group for men who have had previous domestic violence charges. And that's to support them to understanding, the complexities of abuse towards women. So talking about traumas and just bringing up a lot of stuff probably from their past that has brought them to where they are today. And then after that, I also do one-on-one counseling sessions with people in the community who feel like they need extra support. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So what does a typical day or week look like for you?
Yeah, so because I just transitioned into this role, it looks a little bit different. So a lot of what I do is like outreach towards community members to see like different agencies. If the agencies don't support specifically with cultural goals towards the Indigenous community, I try to recruit them over to me just to kind of get them on my caseload and then see if we can work together with helping them maintain their goals and achieving them. And then, I do have the fun administrative roles of just like checking my emails, making sure nobody from like our intake team has reached out to me to see if there's anything that I can support with in terms of current community members within our agency. Um, yeah, so it's a lot of email checking and communication. So like doing phone call, counseling sessions with the community members. That's based on like if I've booked them in or not. And then sometimes, not often, but sometimes there are crisis intervention supports that I need to help with current community members on my caseload. And then, depending on the day of the week, I have programs. So those can range from an hour to 3 hours, supporting them. And then, I have basic trainings that I have to attend to during the week. And here's my cat.
So cute. Well, yeah, that's amazing. It sounds very busy. A lot of administrative and then also like mentally draining probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what made me want to get into social work?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there was that transition in high school where I was just like, I don't really know what I want to do. I wasn't a very academic person, and I was just like, all I know is I like to help people. I didn't really know exactly. I'm sorry, this is the least professional you ever. um, yeah, so I was just kind of like struggling between the two, and I felt like a huge part of why I was so confused was because like I was struggling with intergenerational trauma, and not really knowing where I kind of fit in. And so I did another year in high school, and then it kind of just like led me towards the path of social work because I was getting so much support from social workers. Um, and it kind of just like clicked one day. I was like, you know what, that's what I want, to go into. um it it was just kind of like a year of finding myself, where I was like, I think I can see myself doing this for a while. um but I guess I want to say, like, it took me a lot of failed attempts at other career pathways to understand that, like, this is what I wanted to be doing.
Mm-hmm. So what were some of the other pathways or like jobs or careers you're looking into?
Mhm.
Like, did you consider anything else besides social work?
So I always wanted to look into being a doula, which is like a part of the Indigenous community. We have doulas to help support moms get through giving birth. So it's kind of like a birthing coach. But again, that was something that I was like, it's very science based, and specifically to get into the program. So I was like, maybe that's not for me. And then, all throughout high school, I thought I was going to go into either nursing or teaching.
Mhm.
But again, it was always along the pathway of supporting community, but it was just not specifically what I wanted.
Mhm.
Um, and then, after a year of going back to high school, I took the PSW program, personal support worker. And so it was all based on like supporting with community, but very close with them. Um, I definitely wanted that hands-on connection with the community. And so it was just kind of like getting to know what options that I had.
Mhm. Yeah. It's good to know about like how many options there are because there's a lot. Because in high school, I know they're limited to like what your school wants you to do.
Mm,
Knowing from coming from Loretto, yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, so what steps would you recommend someone for if like someone wanting to go into your field? What would you give them like advice for?
Yeah, so I would definitely say before anything, um, just always keep in mind in the back of your head that you always have to have good intentions in this field, because a lot of community members really rely on social workers, especially with our Indigenous community. Not everybody has family support, and so these people are extremely vulnerable. So I think always remembering, like, if social work is what you want to go into for the money, which, may I remind you, it's not the higher paying end of the spectrum, but um, social work probably wouldn't be for you if it's just for the money. Like, you really need to want to have an impact on community, but in a positive way, especially because the community members are so vulnerable. And like, there's just so much hardship that like different areas of, for example, like poverty have on the members. And I think, like, it's always like at the top of your list, it should be community members before you. um, so that's just like the first piece of social work. And then the other piece of social work is you have so many options in terms of like your career path. So for example, I want to say nursing just because I know a little bit about nursing. There are different fields of nursing that you can go into. Um, but I think with social work, there's like an endless range of job uh, opportunities that you could have. So, when you go into social work, it's going to be a lot of like soul searching when you go through the schooling process. Um, it's not like a linear pathway. You have so many options, and um, you really need to find where your heart takes you, because there's, if you like admin stuff, there are admin jobs in social work. If you like hands-on, you can do hands-on. If you like making policies, there are things like that. um, but social work is a great career path in terms of like having so many different options. And like within like the first 4 years of your career, you could have so much experience under your belt. You just have to allow yourself to give yourself those opportunities, and to always network with different agencies that you may not be specifically working with at the time. I think social work is really great for not only getting to know community members, but also the working community within social work.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a good overview of like why or how to get into your field. Were there any challenges that you had to face going to social work?
Mhm. I would say the number one challenge personally that I face is trying to not get too attached to community members, especially in the Indigenous community. Um, there's so many folks without family or that go through hardship. We face a lot of losses, and it's just so hard not to want to keep your work cell phone on at all times. Setting those boundaries for yourself is probably one of the hardest things I find, because it's like, for example, one of the youth, they lost their mom and they were only 17. And I just wanted to have my phone on all the time, to just let her know that I was there for her. And I think that's the beauty of social work. Both you and your community members set those boundaries together. And so it's like, her mom died. Okay, for the first couple of weeks, I'm going to make sure my phone's on at all times because she really needs me. And then after that, you learn how to provide her with those skills, to feel a little bit more independent, or providing her with phone numbers where she can go to with support after hours. And so I think that's what I love the most also about social work, is that you have so much freedom in terms of your capabilities in the work. But anyways, going back to your original question, yeah, the hardest part is setting those not setting those boundaries, but not getting so attached.
Yeah, it's very understandable.
Mhm.
Um, if you could do it all over again, would you choose the same path for yourself? If not, what would you change?
I can absolutely say that I would not change anything. I would stick to social work. Mhm.
So my last question for you is, if you had some advice for aspiring social workers, what would you say to them?
I would definitely say follow your instincts, especially throughout school. There are going to be times where you're really challenged. I know, from just experience having gone through the schooling process, there were some classes that were really challenging, um, talking about power, privilege, and identity throughout the world, um, and just really recognizing your own social location and recognizing different intersectionalities. And I think I want to say stick with your instincts. Social work is all about unpacking so many different areas in the field. And I think, um, don't let other people make you second guess yourself. I think, like, going throughout high school, accidentally being in the sciences, I was always second guessing myself, thinking I didn't know what I was talking about. But social work, I want to say, like, arguably, that's the whole point of social work. It's questioning these dominant ideologies that are put in your head from day one, and sticking with your instincts and your heart, especially because something brought you to social work. So I think sticking with those instincts, and just not letting other people second guess yourself, and just being open to the idea of change, um, is definitely what I would tell other people going into the field. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a really good advice. Wish someone told me something like that. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stop recording. But thank you for doing this interview.
Yeah, of course.